is accidental.
Gwenton Slowly from Crying Sons Limited. Is that how you see it? Do young black boys have to be in touch with their spirituality? Do they have to be believers in God for them to really progress and transition properly, smoothly into manhood?
It could help if the scriptures are read to you in the right way and you're able to dissect them.
What's the right way? What's the right way and what's the wrong way?
In simple format, where a young person could dissect the information and not go down the wrong path.
Simple format. There's nothing simple in either the Quran or the Bible.
It's very simple.
Very simple.
Very simple.
Very simple.
Simple because I've read it and it makes me, each line makes me think for hours and hours and hours. There's nothing simple about it. There's nothing straightforward.
Well, you might have to open your mind a bit more, Dalton. But it's very simple. And if followed the right way, your life could be very, very fulfilling and flourishing. What we see here is a lot of these young people are lost. They've got no cultural identity.
Yes.
They're looking at the person that looks like them and want to kill them.
That's right.
I now use the word turn off because when they leave their house, they're looking to turn someone else off like it's a machine. And it's happening across the country. It's now an epidemic. And when you sit down and talk to a lot of these young people, they've never had a conversation with certain of their elders to understand the sacrifices that's gone in for us to be where we are today. If it wasn't people like some of the elders in the room today, I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing across the country. And if a lot of the youngers knew that, they'll pay more homage and not be out there doing all sorts of crazy stuff to each
Let's
other.
be real now. That is a minority of youngers, as you put it, because the youngers that I know, they don't create the havoc that you're talking about. In fact, most of the youngers I know are going to be coming out with A stars in their GCSEs and A stars in their A levels and going on to university and doing this and that. Well, they are actually. They are genuinely. They are most of the youngers. So the ones that are creating this havoc, it's not necessarily because they are lost. It's because somebody lost them.
No, they're,
Wrong way, isn't it?
they're misguided. They are lost.
mis-
I would even,
They are lost.
Dotton, this is Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I would even say that they're misinformed.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when you are informed about who you are, you have a solid foundation. Now, the principles of religion, I'm not even going to say religion, I'm going to say spirituality. The principles of that have a core foundation. It makes up a moral standing. It puts you in a position of words such as courageous, benevolence, wisdom, integrity. These are fundamental values, honesty, fundamental values, which when you're put in a system or in a place whereby you may have some level of negative influence, a distraction, because the foundation is actually set in place with these core values that have either been put to you through a religious system, through a spiritual type of coaching, or through a mentor, or through somebody that has got those values themselves, they're able then to stand in a position where they may oftentimes compromise their own integrity and not be able to be courageous enough to not get themselves involved in peer pressure.
Okay, let's not try and make excuses where excuses will only confuse and cloud the issue somewhat. Antoine, how do you see this? What are the essential ingredients that
the way I'd put
a
it
boy
forward,
needs when he transitions from boy?
I'd say casinos were on BBC London. I'm someone who didn't grow up in London. Half my family's from London, but I grew up in Northampton. So I'm able to kind of make a distinction between the way that the media pushes a narrative of black boys, specifically black London boys, are different to a lot of the boys across the country. We could even go as far as to say black boys in inner cities. When you're from a place like Northampton or a town, your interaction with other black boys is a lot different. There's a lot lower knife crime. There's lots of negative aspects we talk in the media that don't actually happen outside of London. So there's something specific with London that impacts our boys and our children in general. And how I was able to avoid things like this and how I try and tell other people is, ever since I can remember, when I was a lot younger than I am now, I wanted to be a barrister. And it was a overriding factor in my life versus another thing of not ever wanting to disappoint my mother. So those two things stopped me doing any kind of crime and stopped me doing anything which I thought I'm going to get a call home to my mum, or it's going to give me a criminal record, which means I won't become a barrister. And having something that's your future is probably as powerful as having a religion or having something that guides you. Because if you value losing something, it will stop you doing something that's going to make you lose it. If you have nothing to lose, then you're the most dangerous person in the world. And I think it was Martin Luther King once said that. A person who has nothing to lose is dangerous. And some of our children, like the point you made earlier in terms of a lot of them are doing well and they continue to do well, but those who aren't doing well, it's usually because they've got nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And when you see people around you gaining things through illegitimate means, whether it's crime, whether it's trying to take shortcuts, then you're going to do those same things. So if I was to give any young child, regardless of race, advice, it would be to have a future. And it's hard to, as a child, to know what you're going to do in life, but that's where a mentor comes and where a father comes involved, or a strong mother. Like with me, it was my mum that gave me a sense of purpose in which I was able to choose myself, but she guided me along the way. So as people in this room who have a voice, as people listening, I think our duty is to ensure children look at their options rather than just say, I don't know what I want to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I want to be, but I'm looking for something to be. It needs to be the whole sentence to that question.
Look, let me not be misconstrued, because this is a conversation about how to transition from boyhood to manhood. It's not about whether some boys do well and others do badly. And I apologise if I gave that impression, because the boys that do well haven't necessarily transitioned from boyhood to manhood either. You know, they've got problems and issues as well. So, I'll try and keep focusing on that. Feel free to rein me in if I lose that thing. But what I've got from this first gambit, if you like, from all my esteemed guests in the studios, is that these are amongst the essential issues for boys when they transition from boyhood to manhood. Let them look about them, as Paul Lawrence was suggesting, and take the good and the bad from those around them. Yeah, those that they respect or should respect. And some of those people might have mixed legacies as well. So they've got to know the right from the wrong, the positive from the negative. They've also got to have a sense of spirituality about them. That's the essence, isn't it, of who we are as black people. This is what the Muhammad is saying.
Doctor, can I say, we have a big problem here, okay? If we're going to be honest about this transition, what is it that we are transitioning into?
Yeah.
Appreciate that black men today, whether we're in London, Nottingham, or wherever we find ourselves on the planet, there has been a war against the black man, a disallowing of the black man to be a genuine, real man. Now, we can talk about the history in terms of the transatlantic enslavement of our people, which merited...
Why don't we just talk about how, despite the war against them,
Yes.
they can still transition to be a real man? Because essentially, from a spiritual perspective,
Yes.
they have to leave those childish things behind. At some point, they have to grow up and be men. They need the wherewithal.
But see, the thing about it, Dalton, is this, is that if you look throughout the animal kingdom, and no matter how advanced we get, we are still animals. If you look throughout the animal kingdom, animals teach their young certain fundamental things.
Yes.
So the lion cub is taught how to hunt. All of these things, we need to be teaching our young men how to do these things. It's not as random as you're going to look, you're going to see, you're going to do. We have to make, we the so-called, what we want to call ourselves, elders, whatever we want to call ourselves, we have to be, what Muhammad is talking about in terms of the spirituality, we have to teach them it.
But
We can't be,
you know,
just be reactive.
Within the animal kingdom, they're not teaching their young necessarily about the history of the animal kingdom. They're not necessarily teaching them going.
But they're teaching them the history of their survival.
Yeah, exactly,
They're not doing it in our term. They're doing it in their terms. How does our
Let's talk
species
about that.
continue?
Yeah.
How does our species get to where it wants to go?
Yeah.
And what we had a disconnect where all of the things that were innate in us was taken away. Fine, we've done that. Where we are now is that you can pick any black man, any black woman off the road, and they will spew the same rhetoric. We were disconnected, we were that. So you know what? We know that. So for me, now it's time for us to say, we know that, we get that, let's move forward. And we're going to move forward if we are proactive in teaching, especially our black boys, what Muhammad said, who they are
exactly.
and their rightful position, because in that comes everything else.
Exactly.
But in 2017, Dutton, when the black man attempts to teach his black son the reality of who he is, there is still to this day opposition that says that this is some type of anti. This is, of course, right. But the point is this, brother. The point is this. It is our duty to instill within our young men the reality of who they are, which is
a context.
No, but this is the context. This is the context. As I said at the beginning, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the ending. In the beginning, brother, the black man walked with God. In the end, the black man is going to walk with God again. And I'm saying, brother, that these young people, see, because I don't have this notion that this generation is lost and whatever. They are the best generation
I
that we've
totally
ever
agree with
produced.
you. I
However,
totally agree with
they need to be guided as to their true identity so that they can actually take their place
But their
on top
true
of this
identity,
planet.
their
Not
true
following,
identity.
not